Welcome back to the Danny Harton Show. Today on this episode, I have Jesse Black, a country, blues, and rock singer-songwriter here in Nashville. How you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing good.
All right, so Jesse, first off, how did you get into music?
I started when I was a little kid. I just kind of wanted a guitar the same way I'd wanted like a skateboard, and then before that like a bike. So my mom found one on eBay. It was like $13, and the shipping was more than the guitar was. So it was not a very good guitar, but I wouldn't put it down, and so I just kept playing guitar, and then ended up finding like some open mics and stuff to play at, and just kind of went from there. I kept falling more and more to liking it.
So you said that like you wanted it like how a kid wants a skateboard or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Like it wasn't like my mom had gave me a Guns N' Roses CD, and I was like listening to that whole CD, and I was like playing guitar would be cool. So
Okay, gotcha. So
yeah,
was it like the image of Slash or anything that like got you more into it, or was it more of like the sounds?
it was more like the sounds, but also Slash. I definitely liked Slash when I was a kid, and Guitar Hero 3. Kind of got me into that, and I was like, who is this Welcome to the Jungle? And my mom was like, well, I think I've got that Appetite for Destruction CD. So she gave me that and Smash Mouth were like my two CDs I couldn't put down.
That's not a bad place to start though.
No, I mean Smash Mouth questionable, but Guns
Yeah,
N'
but
Roses is awesome.
yeah, but Appetite for Destruction, that's like a great place to
Yeah.
start, I would
Oh, I
say.
still like listening to that album. So,
So like where did that take you?
that took me to a lot of classic rock. Like anything that was like on classic rock radio, I would like learn the riffs to that, and then just at first I would only learn like the riffs that I wanted to learn and not learn the whole song. Um, and then I got into like CCR from the classic rock stuff, and that was like easy enough for me at like 11 to learn a whole song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
So.
were you like learning multiple CCR songs, like going through their catalog?
Yeah, I was kind of doing that, especially if it was like the riffs that I like. But mainly just like learning stuff, and then I started trying to sing too when I was probably like 12. Um, so
So what was like the first like piece of work that you put out?
the first piece of work that I actually put out, I recorded a song that I'd written at a little studio in Jasper, Tennessee, where I'm from. Um, and it was for like a TV show. It was gonna be like the background music. I'd met these people, and so I went to that studio, recorded it, and put it out that way. But I didn't really release it. So if it was something that I released, I made a CD with a couple things at the same studio that I'd written, and put out like a little just CDs EP kind of thing. So
All right, cool. So was that like before Lane Switch and all and
that was
that
before
stuff?
Lane Switch. Yeah, that was
Okay.
two CDs before Lane Switch. So I had one that was just like, I think it was like 3 or 5 songs, and then another one that was 5 songs. And those were only released on CD. But Lane Switch was the first one I put out on Spotify and all that stuff. So that was when I was 18.
Okay, cool. So like Lane Switch is like you would say that's like your first
First release, yeah.
yeah, okay. Like your first concrete like album or something like
Right,
that.
exactly.
So like what was your songwriting process for that album?
So that album, Lane Switch, was basically all the songs that I'd written in high school. So some of them I'd written when I was like a sophomore, and then some of them I'd wrote for the album. For example, that I Hope It Rains song was like a thunderstorm whenever we were tracking Bound to Rome, and we went outside and recorded it, and then came back inside and was like, oh, this guitar riff would be cool over it. And me and the guy that wrote it with, Trey Binkley, um, just kind of laid down a track and was like, well, I like that. Where are we going to go from there? And then we used my talk box on it. And so some of them were written like that, but some of them were just like stuff that I'd been playing live off and on for like a year or two.
All right, cool. So what made like Bound to Rome is the only single off that
Yeah,
album,
that was
right?
the only single off that one.
So like why was that the song that you chose to release first?
At the time, I thought it was my best. And so that one was another one that I co-wrote with Trey. And it sounded good. Those were the only 2 songs that we like did live tracked drums on. I wish we would have done that on everything, but that album was very much like me learning how to use GarageBand. So,
Gotcha.
but I don't know. I still appreciate what it was for when I was 18.
Yeah.
So
So do you still use GarageBand or what are you using
no.
now?
Now whenever I record stuff, I either use Logic or FL Studio. So it just kind of depends. I do like a lot of the drums in FL Studio, and then I use Logic for mixing everything and recording other stuff. But now, with this new album that I'm doing it to tape. So there's not really going to be a DAW. I'll probably use Logic again for like the mastering of it and everything. But I don't know. Going forward, I'm probably going to use Logic more and more and use live drums more and more, which will be a big change from my last album. So
Yeah, because I wanted to mention like Wabi Sabi is like going from lane switch to that.
it's very
It's very
jolting.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very creative.
Thank you.
Like I like how like it's definitely an improvement from lane switch in all areas, but also like you got so much more creative on that album,
right.
in my opinion. And also like I noticed like you used a lot of like hip hop drums,
Right.
I guess, for lack of a better term. So like
No,
we're
that's
using
true.
FL Studio for that.
Yeah, so that whole album, I kind of made all the drum tracks on there and some of like the synth tracks that you're hearing in the background. And then I'd move it to Logic and record all the guitars and vocals and stuff. That album was very much just like a shift in what I was listening to. I was listening to a lot more hip hop. I was listening to a lot more R&B. It was when I was in college. So all of those influences kind of mixed with like the rock and country and blues stuff I was playing at my live shows. I kind of blended those two things together and made that album. And there's some stuff that I wish I could change about it. It was a little bit rushed from the deadline that I was trying to meet before I went on that tour. And so I like that album. I appreciate that album, but I'm very excited for the new sound. And I don't know. All of my albums are kind of like a screenshot of where I was at that point in time. And I'm excited for this next one too.
So do you want to kind of like talk about what can we expect from the new album?
Yeah, absolutely. So the new album is going to be all live instruments. Like I said, it's tracked to tape. You may or may not be able to hear that in the final outcome. I don't know, but I'm excited to do that just because it's a different thought process for recording. You can't just cut and splice stuff as easy. And also the equipment is completely different. A lot of it's my friend Joe Tellman's equipment, and he's the one recording it. So I'm excited for that, but the live drums, the live bass, I don't know. You can kind of tell from Lane Switch and from Wabi Sabi that my album doesn't have like one sound and every song kind of sounds like that. It's very much all over the place with genres and feels for the songs and influences. And this one's no different. Like there's going to be some like really rocking songs on there, some kind of CCR sounding songs, some country songs. There's one that's going to be a little bit more jazzy, one that's really weird with like tape loops and stuff on it.
Like a psychedelic song from like the 60s or something like that?
It's, yeah, kind of psychedelic, but more in the direction of like acoustic psychedelic. There's going to be one that's going to be like acoustic guitar, vocal is going to be like the main thing. And then there's going to be pedal steel, a cello, and then I recorded on a 4-track with Joe, like just building a chord out with like single voices. And so I made the chords of the song, and we're going to fade them in and out with like a mixer. So it's going to be this weird kind of vocal pad thing in the background of it, but it's all live tracked. So I'm excited about that. But
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That sounds awesome. But so what like inspired you to go like tape for this third album?
Joe has been into tape for a long time, and Joe's like a long time best friend of mine. I think I met him when I was 14, 15, something like that. And so we've been friends for years and lived together before I moved here. And so we had planned on making an album whenever we lived together, and it just didn't work out for one reason or another with like time conflicts and getting people to come in and all that kind of stuff. So now we're just kind of doing it like a day every 2 weeks. We'll do like a 10-hour session and record it and do all that kind of stuff. But it's more just like that was the plan a year ago, and so now we're just doing it. But
Okay, yeah, I got you. So are there any other musicians on the album?
yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of my friends are gonna appear on it. Wiley Bigger from Arkansas. He's a piano player and singer, and I've done some stuff with him. If you look at his album, I forget the name of it, but it's like a 5-song EP, and I'm playing the guitar tracks on that. And so I'm excited to have him come do the piano tracks on this, and some background vocals. And then also Drake Freeman, he was a writer on 2 of the songs. He's going to be doing some background vocals and maybe some other stuff too. So right now we're at the process where me and Joe have pretty much recorded everything on it, and now we're going to start getting other people in. Another guy I want to get on it's Jake Knight, Trey Binkley. I'd like to have him sing some stuff on there. and he's a writer on one of the songs. And there might be some more people on there, but it's kind of, I haven't finished recording it yet, so I don't know exactly who all is going to be on there. But those people for sure I want to get on there. So
Okay, word. Let's talk a little bit like about your influences.
hmm
Like you already mentioned, CCR seems to be like a big influence.
yeah, that's a
on you.
huge one. But also like the Eagles, I really like all of their vocal selections and the way that they were country, but also rock, but not necessarily in a country or a rock way. I love all their guitar parts, the way they would layer a song. The Beatles is a huge inspiration for me for songwriting. They kind of had a weird approach to it, and I really like a lot of the way that it would be an interesting song, but still accessible in a poppy kind of way. So they were a huge influence for me. As far as newer influences, like Tyler Childers is a huge one for country music, but also like Willie Nelson is probably my hero of country music. Still really like Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings, a bunch of people like that. But my influences are kind of all over the place, but it's mainly like older country stuff like Hank Sr., Doc Watson for like the kind of bluegrassy stuff. Old Crow Medicine Show was another band that I listened to a ton growing up. Classic rock. Blues music is a huge influence on me. That was a big part of my life when I was like in high school and early college, and still is a couple events a year. So, but those are like my main influences, and then I still listen to all kinds of other genres of music. Like I talked about earlier, I listened to a lot of hip hop stuff, especially when I was in high school and college, and R&B stuff like SZA, Frank Ocean, all that kind of stuff. I really like their music, but yeah, so kind of listen to just about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the artist Sturgill Simpson?
Oh yeah, I like some Sturgill Simpson stuff. And he's another new artist that I feel like is doing really creative things with country music and also arguably bluegrass music. So
Yeah, and he like evolves in every album too.
exactly,
It's crazy.
so and it's the same thing with Tyler Childers. From the Bottles and Bibles album all the way up to his newest one, Take My Hounds to Heaven. I think all of those albums and Purgatory and the one with All Yorn. I forget the name of it. Country Squire, I think. But yeah, I love artists that you can buy 5 of their vinyls and they all sound significantly different. It's not like you're getting this batch of songs, this batch of songs, this batch of songs.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I want to talk like about your live shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said you were on tour.
Yeah, that was 2019 was whenever I went on tour. I played a bunch of small venues like on the East Coast. Then I went to Norway for 10 days, and then I came back home. So I was gone for like roughly 2 months. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, there weren't like huge venues or nothing like that. I wasn't touring stadiums, but I was playing somewhere pretty much every day. Just kind of staying here, there, and everywhere. And I feel like that was great for me because it gave me the opportunity to 42 days in a row play a live show. So there was stuff that like by the end of the tour, I'd really gotten down like different arrangements, and it was just me and an acoustic. It wasn't like a band or anything, but I felt like that was like a huge thing. And then also everywhere I went, people would tell me, oh, if you sound like this artist, you should listen to this artist, or you might really like some songs from this guy. And so I had all this time because I was driving in a car by myself to listen to all this new music and pick up things, and I don't know. It was just definitely a very big experience. So
Okay, so it was like a good experience, or I guess you got a lot of like experience on the road.
yeah, exactly. It kind of made me comfortable traveling long distance and being by myself and putting on a show and like not necessarily having to be home for a long time. And now I don't prefer to leave for like 42 days at a time, but like doing something for like 2 weeks and coming home, that feels good. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. What was your like favorite experience on that tour?
Probably going to Norway at the end of it. I got an opportunity to go through Pine Top Perkins Foundation. They have like an exchange thing. That's a blues guitar workshop that I went to for like 5 years in high school, and then was an intern 1 year for the guitar class. And then the next year they asked me if I wanted to go to Norway with my friend Joe that I'm recording the album with. And there's a blues festival over there called the New Toten Blues Festival. And so we got to go to their version of the camp and then play that at the end of it. So that was just like a crazy experience. I was over there for like 10 days with musicians from really all over Europe. Like a lot of them were from Norway, but There were some from Poland, there were some from Bosnia, there were some from France, some from England. It was just really cool and like very like eye-opening, just seeing how music works in other countries. And you know, they definitely grew up listening to different stuff than I did, and so I don't know, it was just so much fun. But
What is like your like nowadays? I guess like your gigging experience, or I guess you're like, yeah, I guess like your regular gigging, um, like activities. What does that look like?
most of it's honestly like bars and like restaurants that are like set up for music, that have like that as like their event. But now I'm kind of like, I didn't want to work a job. Like, I met you whenever we worked together, but I quit to go back to playing like this because it just kind of keeps me like in the, like, sure, a lot of these shows are not taking me anywhere, but they pay the bills. And so I'm playing 3 or 4 shows a week, mainly in the Southeast. I play the Chattanooga area a lot, Middle and East Tennessee, North Alabama, North Georgia. I play in the Gulf some. I play in Raleigh some. I play in Ohio some. Um, but most of my stuff is like within a 2 or 3 hour drive, and it's just playing 3 or 4 hours of music, solo acoustic. And because of that, I built up a pretty decent organic following of people that come out and see me at those places, like my regular places. Um, but it's a lot of fun, and you know, I'm still meeting people, still making fans and stuff like that. It's just kind of an organic process that pays the bills while I'm trying to do things like put out an album and maybe take a next step. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you feel like this kind of like lights a fire under your ass, sort of?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, I mean, it makes me want more than what I got right now. And so every year it keeps going better and better. Like, um, I don't know. I started doing this again full time once things kind of settled down from the pandemic and places started to have more and more live business or live music for business. Since the end of 21, I think that's when I quit. And so 22, all year I did this, and then this year it's been going even better than last year. So I just keep kind of cherry picking stuff 6 months in advance and trying to get more and more cool shows mixed in with some of the stuff that just really helps pay the bills.
So do you like travel by yourself
Yeah,
during
most of the
most of
time
this?
it's by myself. Sometimes I'll have my girlfriend go with me or my parents or something like that will want to tag along, but I'd say a good 75% of the time it's just me going and showing up, playing, hanging out with the people that I know there, and coming back home that night. So
All right, word man. Do you play a lot of gigs with other people?
not really, honestly. Like, I will probably on average like every other month or something do something with like a band, or you know, one of my friends, I'll have them come and play, you know, guitar behind me or something. But um, I mean, for the most part, it's just easier to schedule. You don't have to split the money, um, and it's just, I don't know. I also feel like I do a pretty good job at like kind of filling out a solo acoustic show. You know what I mean? Like, I try to mix up the genres I'm playing. I try to play, you know, kind of stuff that feels like more than just one guitar, like mixing in the bass lines and the, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I feel
No,
like
I
you're
know
not
what you
missing
mean.
anything with just watching me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
But I do love playing with the band. It's just at this point, it's not something I'm doing. So
Gotcha. Um, so I saw like we were talking about this before the interview. I saw you were playing with Christone, Kingfish, Ingram.
yeah.
Do you want to talk about that experience?
So I met him at that same Pine Top Perkins Blues Guitar Workshop. And we've been not necessarily like really close, but we've been friends since we met each other. And I get to see him a couple times a year at some of the fundraisers, and he's a great guy, like on and off stage. On stage, he's just crazy, ripping solos and stuff like that, and his singing is so good. Like, I don't know, but he's a fun guy to hang out with too, and he's very down to earth. Always takes time to talk to people, and I see that every time I see him. So he's a great guy.
Sweet man. Would you love to like work with him in the future?
I would love to. He's a very busy man, but yeah, I would absolutely be interested in doing that.
What's like your dream collaboration? It can either be like someone else like standing on the track,
Hmm.
or like a producer or a songwriter, like anything like that. Just like what is your number one dream collaboration?
Dream collaboration. I don't know. I've always thought it would be really cool to have a whole album of people that I know write a song with me and play on it, and do like a collaborative album more so than like a like one person collaboration. Um, but if we can pick people that are dead, I would love to have done an album with Doc Watson. If you look at his discography, he does like so many albums with just like one other person, and I wish I was born earlier so I could have done that with him. That would have been a dream. So
Okay, what about one living person?
one living person. I don't know. I would love to do something with Tyler Childers or maybe Colter Wall or somebody like that. Somebody more in the direction of like the country music that I'm trying to make. But I don't know. I feel like that'd be fun. That'd be cool.
Okay, so I guess we've touched on it like a little bit, but I want you to like go in more in depth with it. What is like your like with this new album, what is like your songwriting process, like step by step?
Okay, my songwriting process for this album was different from my other ones, but similar in the same way. Like the way that I said that each album is kind of like a screenshot of this is what was going on in my life at that time whenever I recorded it. A lot of these songs, there's only one of them that I didn't write after all of my shows got canceled for the pandemic. So I started working. I worked at first at Kroger, and then I worked at Home Depot. And so this is a collection of songs that I wrote over the course of about a year in 2020, and just about the things going on in my life. And some of them I wrote sitting on the couch with a guitar. Some of them I wrote while I was working in my notes app, and then got home and figured out the chords for it or just played it if it was simple enough. And so my songwriting process for that and just in general is usually just an acoustic guitar in my notes app. That's how I start pretty much all of them.
Okay, and then like everything, like all the other instrumentation, like comes after that.
Okay, so all the instrumentation I normally write. So let me talk about the recording process because I guess that's also part of the songwriting process for me. So I normally start with a scratch track of guitar and vocal, or at least I did for this album. And then my friend Joe put down the drums. Some of the songs I had ideas for what the drums would kind of be like, roughly. And then a lot of it was creative freedom of Joe. Like, Joe would be like, I think this sounds really good here. And he would play the part, and I'd be like, yeah, that sounds great there. And then he picked out all the bass parts. He played the bass on the whole album, too. And then it's kind of been me and him deciding what guitar parts or what other stuff should be added where. And some of that is still, at the time of this video, still being picked out. So for all the instruments and stuff like that, a lot of that is I've kind of got an idea in my head, or, you know, the friends that I'm recording it with will have an idea in their head, and it just kind of pick the part as we're going, you know?
Yeah, I got you. Give me your favorite song on each album.
My favorite song on each album?
Yeah.
From Lane Switch, I'm going to pick I Hope It Rains. I really like Bound to Roam too, but I Hope It Rains to me is just like the memories of recording that, the fact that it was actually a pretty good song for being written in like 30 minutes. And I still find myself playing that one at a lot of blues jams, or whenever I'm playing with a band, I'll be like, hey, learn this one, you know. So that one from B-Sides, I'm going to say, let me look at the track list.
Yeah, sure.
Been a while. Let's see. I know the one I'm thinking of, Dreams. I don't even have to find the track list. Dreams was just cool. I know a lot of people don't like it because it was like the one on that album that I used auto-tune on, but just
I like that.
I did too.
It was,
but
it was like out of left field. It was like,
but a lot of people that like my music, especially the ones that come to the live shows, they don't like that kind of stuff. But to me, auto-tune you shouldn't use as a crutch to fix your singing. You should use it as a vocal effect.
Yeah, you should use it like as a tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, just like kind of the feeling of that song was my favorite off of the album, from that one. And then off of Wabi Sabi, that one's tough. I love Dobby with a Sock. That one was funny, and it was like one of the first ones we wrote for that album. But
it's a fun opener to the album too.
yeah, exactly. It kind of lets you know that you're getting into something that's going to be a little weird. And then If It Means Anything to You, or Means Anything to You is the name of the song. That one was an acoustic and vocal, right? And then we kind of recorded it with Wabi Sabi. I did a lot more of the writing in the recording process, where we'd lay something down and like it, not like it, or change it later, and that kind of thing. And so a lot of that was written after I made the drums for the song, just what else needs to be here kind of thing. But that one specifically, Anything to You, was written how I was writing for Lane Switch and also how I'm writing for this album. I wish I would have done a different vocal take on it, but like I said, that was another thing that was like kind of rushed for that album to be done. But as far as songwriting though, that one's probably my favorite off of the album.
Got you. I want to ask you, why did you put February 13th on both albums?
So that one, it was kind of like, so Lane Switch and Wabi Sabi, my friend Trey Binkley helped me record both of those. And we just kind of bounced ideas off of each other every time. But that's like one of his favorite songs of mine. And we weren't like that happy with how February 13th was on both albums. But Trey loves that song. And so he was like, you should put February 13th back out, but we should record it better. And so I was like, all right, you talked me into it. And I think it fits that album better than it fits Lane Switch, honestly. So
Yeah. I think, well, on Lane Switch, isn't it like the second or third song?
I think so. I think it's the second. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's still like that song on Lane Switch is still like setting up the album, I guess,
Right.
on Lane
Yeah.
Switch. But on Wabi Sabi, it's like towards the end of the track list.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of fits better, and I don't know if this was like intentional or not, but like it's a good callback to Lane Switch,
to
or
that
at
first
least to
one.
like your previous work in general.
Right.
I think it's a good callback, but it also like yeah, but I would agree that it fits better on Wabi Sabi.
Yeah.
I know like a lot of, it's probably not super super common, but there are like some artists that like put an older
Re-release older song.
song. Yeah, but they put like an older song on like a newer album.
Right.
Or like a newer version. Like there's a Fall Out Boy song on their fourth record
Mm-hmm.
where they're literally just like pandering to their fans. But I like it. I like it. But they're just like singing like all their popular choruses in like one like large line for like 2 minutes.
That's kind of great though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like it. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. And that's not the first callback I've done. I also did voicemail on B-sides and then voicemail 2 on Wabi Sabi.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's true. Are there going to be any callbacks to previous work on this album?
Not on this one, I don't think. This one's just kind of, I had the track list made 2 years ago this month for this album. So all of these songs have been done and been waiting to be recorded and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm kind of set on what I've got for this album and have been for a while. And this one, just because I was writing differently and playing more of these live before the album, I just didn't throw in a callback. But I'm not against doing that again in the future. So, yeah.
Word. I want to ask you, what is one song you wish you wrote?
One song I wish I wrote, The Ballad of Spider John by Willis Allen Ramsey.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's like,
Oh, word.
do you know the song Muskrat Love? Like the Muskrat Susie? No. All right. So it was like an old song. Well, the songwriter that wrote that, I think he's from Alabama, but he lived in Texas or something. But he put out like a whole album that's just all over the place the same way that I like albums. But at the same time, it all sounds like stuff he would write. And that's like his only album. They apparently did some interview with him and was like, why don't you release another one? Like, people love you. And he was like, what's wrong with the first one? And I kind of agree with him. Like, the first one was awesome. So,
Yeah.
but it's like the first track off of that album. And to me, it's like the best kind of cowboy song like ever written. But
Okay.
I don't know. So
I got you. Yeah, that's a good answer. All right, so my last question before we close the video out here is what's like your plan, like once this new album is released, like what's like your post album plan, I guess?
So my post album plan is to kind of keep promoting this while writing the next one. So one idea that I really have for this album is to go through and like once a month make a new music video for each album song. So I've already got like one of the music videos planned out and I'm working on a second one. So I definitely want to be doing that. I also have a cookbook that I'm working on that I want to get out there and a barbecue sauce. So I don't know. A lot of people do like regular kind of merch. I want to do some weird merch and then also like that kind of stuff. But after this album gets written, I've already got like at least 4 or 5 songs towards the next album. And I don't know. I think I want to change the way that I record every album because part of the reason every album has sounded so different is because the recording process has never been the same. So I want to kind of mess around and see which direction I want to go with this next album, but just keep writing for it, keep playing these songs. I'm thinking about maybe getting a band together and doing a couple shows in town because I hardly ever play in Nashville. I normally travel to do my shows. I think it would be cool to get some of these songs, like versions with like a 3-piece or 4-piece band or something like that, and start doing like every other month a live show in town and trying to kind of get some band stuff going that way. But I've got a couple tours planned for this year. I'm going to do one up towards like New England, towards New York City and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm doing another one more towards like Rochester area and Vermont and all that kind of stuff later. And then also one in Ohio. So just kind of doing some stuff like that. But
all right, that sounds good, man. So that was Jesse Black. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And links to his music will be down in the description. Bye, guys.
see ya.